And here's how you can also deal when things don't go your way. Should we stop creating these dreamy and fairy tale scenarios? Hello everyone, I hope you're doing well. This is Gurleen and today's video is about when things don't go your way. All of us create these dreamy fairy tale scenarios in our mind, in our heads about how our lives should be like or how our lives will be like when we grow up. It's almost crazy how at 16 one can think they'll be an A-list celebrity player for football, while 10 years down the line they might find themselves interested in completely something opposite. For example, academic research. So it's crazy how life revolves that way. Well, let's be realistic. This example I gave doesn't really hold up well because Howard Gardner did not spend all of his life to get berated by a student like that. But it sure gets my point across. What I'm trying to say is that we tend to have these scenarios in our mind about how our life will be like. But in the future, it might be something completely different. And not just because of factors we cannot control. Sometimes, even because of the situations we are in, even because of the interests we hold at that point of time. We as humans fail to understand the degree to which we can change in our lifetime. More about that in this video link below in the description. Just a quick disclaimer, this video is not about the rational side of visualizing and manifesting. This is the irrational side of manifesting, wherein people tend to get really worked up about their expectations and the reality and how they're not just coherent with each other. So let's talk more about this. Very recently, one of these scenarios in my mind came crashing down when things didn't go my way, as the title says. So, for example, you might be thinking that you'll marry your high school sweetheart, or you love biology until you're 50, 60 years old. So maybe you should get a PhD in biology or something like that. But inevitably, it will change. Maybe your interests will shift a little bit, maybe your interests will shift completely and wholly, but that is not the point. Very recently, that happened with me also. So, what did I do to cope with that? Of course, I am making a video, but personally, I did these 5 things to not stress myself about how the situation won't happen actually. And here's how you can also deal when things don't go your way. First, find an outlet. An outlet can be anything. It can be a journal, it can be a diary entry, it can be a blog post on the internet, it can be a parent, it can be a best friend, it can be a sibling. An outlet, an outlet is just some place you can share what you're thinking. Share what you're feeling, share your thoughts, share all the crazy amount of overthinking you're doing. Just have an out. Now, what that necessarily does, and the reason I'm putting this across, is because we tend to point out our irrational beliefs better if we have them out of our mind. So think of your mind as sort of like a platter, and you can have as much food as you want on that platter, right? On that platter of food. But when you really look at it, you'll realize that most of the food you want to eat, it's actually just you're not even hungry, right? So why are you thinking things you don't even want to think about? So finding an outlet does just that. It helps you find and point out the irrational beliefs you have in your mind a little bit better, so that you are not constantly in your mind and you can actually think about improving the situation you're in. The second point is to create. Create literally anything. Create a YouTube video, create a blog post, create a new Gmail where you can email yourself about all the feelings you're thinking, create poetry, create a story, just write a creative writing piece, anything. Now, the reason I say that is because our creative juices tend to kind of combat the negative and saddening part of our brain pretty well. The third thing you can do when things don't go your way is do something out of your comfort zone. No, I am not asking you to go skydiving or bungee jumping or go scuba diving, none of that stuff. I'm just asking you to do something you won't usually do in your life. So, For example, if you are a warm shower person, maybe take a cold shower for once. If you haven't worked out even once in your life, try doing that for just half an hour. Just do something you wouldn't do usually in your life, because what that does is that it somehow tells you that things are going to be okay. And since you put a lot of your energy into doing something you won't be comfortable with usually, your brain also thinks that okay, we have more important things to do and we don't have to worry about that one thing which didn't go right. The fourth and literally the most crucial thing you can do is not blame anything. Don't blame the situation. Don't blame another person in your life. Don't blame the passerby, and especially with utmost care, do not ever blame yourself. Sometimes situations can be such that things just weren't in our control. Whereas in other times, it may be some sort, to some extent, it might be a responsibility. So, owning up and taking responsibility is completely different from blaming yourself. So, while you might want to be accountable for something that has happened, it doesn't really help to blame anything. I think blaming is one of the most cowardly acts one can do, because it just never lets you take responsibility, and it puts you in this gray area wherein you don't want to take action, you don't want to improve anything, you just sit there sad and questioning what went wrong. So just don't blame. The fifth and probably the most unconventional step you'll come across in this video is go to God first, not last. A lot of us tend to first resolve the situations with all the tools and all the resources you have, and at the end, when you're literally here on the verge of a breakdown, that is when we turn our minds, turn our hearts towards God. Well, that can be good for some people, but instead, what we can try doing is turn to God first. So, let's say something went completely wrong with my life, something happened which I did not expect to happen, something just didn't go my way, right? So, go to the Gurudwara, go to the temple, go to the church, go to whatever religion you feel comfortable with, and just talk to God. The mind peace and the satisfaction just going to a temple will bring you is just immaculate. So, I would say turn to God first, not last, because it really helps you save on a lot of tools and resources which you can use further down the line to actually improve the situation which went wrong. Alright? Things will not always go your way. Insert Murphy law here. So it's completely okay when they don't, right? Most of the time, we're not hurt because the situation itself is so bad or because the situation is so worse we can't even function properly. We get hurt because we set our expectations to an unrealistic level. Let's say I will reach 10,000 steps in one day when I haven't been walking for around 6 months. So, how is that even possible, right? So, make sure that you really are aware whether the problem is the situation or whether the problem were your expectations on your performance in a situation. And that can really help you narrow down whenever you're finding an outlet and letting go of all the thoughts you're feeling. Also, another thing you might want to look out for is overthinking, and I'll insert a pin right here which really talks about it. Now, I know this video is towards a bit of a harsher truth side, but on the brighter side, things also go your way. So make sure you look out for all the glimmers and the shimmers in life wherein the experiences are just wonderful and they just could not get better, and just relive those memories again and again when things don't go your way, because that is when and that is how you kind of re-believe that things will go your way. So, end note, should we stop creating these dreamy and fairy tale scenarios I talked about in the first bit of the video? Absolutely not. I am here for all you manifesting junkies, but again, as I put out in the disclaimer, this video is about the irrational side of manifesting and irrational side of setting expectations. So, even scientific research proves that to some extent, visualizing and manifesting, which people say, is actually helpful when you want to achieve a bigger goal in life. So, planning out the steps, planning out each day of the month about how you want to reach that goal can actually help scientifically. But once you do it in a more unrealistic manner and an irrational manner, it just does not make sense. So, even if you're visualizing, even if you're manifesting, make sure that it does not take over your life completely. Make it a part of the goal you want to achieve and then work towards it. Most importantly, what we need to note down here is how we deal with these expectations or these steps we have set for ourselves. If they're unrealistic, we just won't achieve them, right? So make sure to put down realistic, achievable standards you want to work towards in a week or in a day or in a month, and you'll be very, very good to go. And the reason I say this about expectations and working towards a goal is because we as humans are not meant to be set in stone. We are fluid. We are meant to change. We are meant to mold. We are meant to meld. And it's almost inhuman to think that you won't change because we're supposed to. So, on this note, I hope you gained something from this video. If you did, make sure to leave a comment below saying how it helped or just leave a hi. And if you like this video, make sure you like it. And I really hope this was insightful too. Thank you so much and take care. Bye bye.